Hello and welcome back to Retro Pixel Castle. Last time we managed to get our forge up and running, and we've got ourselves one singular iron ingot, which is going to be so useful in the future of our civilization. Having a single iron ingot is going to save everyone. Ugh. Anyway, I mean, we're building the lumber mill. It's actually going along, as fast as it's going to go. It's a pretty big building, but once we get it up, we'll basically never have to build another one, so I'm going to hold out for that. Outside of that, it's just kind of continued survival as usual. The defenses still need to be built up, and we need to fix these bow towers, because there will be a point at which they all break, and then, the hordes of death overwhelm the entirety of the city. And Miss Gwen Schneider, who of course is a Fletcher, and is really, I guess she's like a key part of the defensive system. I mean, once the town gets overrun by terrible, vicious creatures of the night, everyone's gonna turn to Gwen Schneider and be like, Schneider, what happened with the defenses? You were supposed to be manning the bow towers. And she'll be like, I couldn't man the broken bow towers. But of course, we're not going to listen to her, and we're gonna burn her at the stake, because that's actually how we deal with civil disputes in this town. We just burn people at the stake. Maybe it's not the most efficient way to deal with civil disturbances, but you gotta do what you gotta do, I think. And I guess what we have to do is burn Gwen Schneider at the stake. I'm sorry, Gwen Schneider. I'm sure you are a nice person, but your life is over. It's unfortunate. Anyway, we are taking forever to build this thing. Basically, we build it as fast as we actually have builders to do the work. So if we can add a few more builders in there. I don't know who's not needed right now. How much? We have a ton of quarrels. I mean, basically our Fletchers aren't doing anything right now because they've filled up the bowyer with as many quarrels as they can get. So I mean, if we just switch out a bowyer and a lumberjack into the builder, we can get that finished up much faster, and then we can work on the defensive line and repair it and get nice walls up and potentially like a couple machine guns, maybe a rocket launcher. Oh, that makes me really wish that we had machine guns and rocket launchers to build. We have something pretty close to a machine gun, I will admit. Technically it shoots stones instead of steel bullets, but close enough. I mean, rapid fire weaponry is about as good as you can get. Oh man, look at them. The golems are just mobbing literally anything that walks into the town range, which can be seen with this. That's the tower range, sorry. That would be, range map. There we go. So basically this map is showing where our town is, and this is where all of the villagers will mill around, depending on how desirable the area is for them to mill around in. Which, the least desirable area is right here, because there's a lot of death that goes on right in that area. But the golems will only react to enemies that enter this area, so, I mean, so long as there's no holes in the defenses, all the golems will always mob everything up here. It's so good. Are you making more steel, Miss Kendall Schneider? Oh, are you married to Gwen Schneider? Well, I'm sorry about the fact that your wife is going to be burnt at the stake when the village inevitably turns into an anarchic mess. I mean, I feel for you on one hand. On the other hand, I just don't care all that much. I mean, once everything falls into an anarchic mess, you can't blame me for what's happened, because I'm trying to, hold order and civility within the society. I don't run the anarchy. That's just not how this works. So are we actually building anything right now? Seems like a lot of our builders are just slacking off. They're all like, oh, it's 170 degrees outside. We can't possibly be hauling stone everywhere. And I'm like, would you shut up, Maureen Lepaco, and just pick up the frickin' stones? You know what they should get? They should get wheelbarrows. If they had wheelbarrows, I bet they'd be a lot faster at actually building these things. It's a pretty simple device. I mean, you just stick a wheel on a bucket, pretty much. I mean, it's a pretty big bucket, but it's a bucket nonetheless. And then you just got it under control. Oh my word. We've only got 20 stones remaining. Admittedly, stones are the worst thing to have to get. Although we do have 43 stones stored up here, so I guess we're in good shape. That guy's gonna go up in no time. How are the terrible denizens of the night actually doing in their colonization efforts out here? Because I'd like to see them doing very poorly. You know, they're working it out. I'd say we are definitely far more successful on the level of colonization at this moment in time. But I'm sure they'll figure out new methods of colonization, namely the just, you know, build everything and ignore the natives. Which is kind of hard to do because I guess we're the natives. I mean, neither of us are really natives in this situation. I mean, if there's going to be colonization, there have to be natives somewhere. Who are we going to subjugate if there's not a bunch of natives there to be subjugated? Jeez. Man, I only got into this business because I thought there was going to be subjugation and we were going to rule over somebody. Ends up, I guess, we just rule over ourselves. That's not even close to as fun. Ugh, it's quite unfortunate. Anyway, with imperialism aside, we've only got 4 more stones left on the lumber mill, and then we will have all of the building resources we could possibly need. I mean, we have to actually make them, but, you know, all the things we could need, barring the amount of time necessary to actually build them. Come on, finish it up. Who's gonna do it? It's Bruce Westerman. I wish I could very specifically then assign Bruce Westerman to the lumber mill, but you can't really assign a specific person to any job. They just take whatever job they want. The greatest project the lumber mill has completed! Is there a giant saw blade in there? And might I ask how you built a giant saw blade without any steel? Because no steel went into the production of that building. I mean, we do have steel, so if you want a steel saw blade to, like, you know, work out all of those logs, we can do that job. It's not that hard to build a saw blade, I feel. I mean, admittedly, we only have, like, a smeltery. It's not really a forge, it's a smeltery. It just makes ingots. So I guess we'd need some sort of, like, smithy to actually make a saw blade, but, you know, we can work it out. We're an ingenious group of nice villagers. We can work these kinds of things. Okay, so in terms of the next big building project, we've got these under control, so we can basically build whatever we want to. Probably we're gonna have to build the additional bow towers that we wanted up here and a bit of ammo storage so that, you know, we keep getting an excess of quarrels and stuff, and we never have to run out of that resource. But at the same time, there is a building that we could use quite a bit. It's under manufacturing, I believe. The Waymaker Shack. And this is probably actually going to be the next thing we need to build. So the Waymaker Shack works that it actually builds paths and roads around our village that villagers can then use to move more quickly around, you know, the general area. So once we get that up and running, things like the farming become far more efficient because as opposed to just walking along on dirt, like tripping over a bunch of rocks, because of course people are terrible and they can't actually look at where they're going. So any small piece of terrain in their way is going to cause major problems as they trip and stumble all over the place, smashing their face into the sullen earth. How unfortunate. How unfortunate. Now we will have perfectly smooth roads on the level of ancient Rome. It'll be amazing. I mean, Rome was known for their roads back in the day. In comparison to modern roads, I would admit Roman roads are maybe not all that great. But, you know, we're not really comparing to modern roads. And anyone in our town that compares to modern roads, we will have a stern talking to. We will set up a Gestapo, I swear to goodness. This person, who are you? Albin Amari, you are officially the first member of the Gestapo. If anyone says anything against us, wreck them. Destroy them. Perfect, we now have secret police. We have a society wherein all builders are disgusting scum. And I guess we still have no artistic expression yet? This is working out to be quite a dystopia we got here. I mean, I'm fine with that. I have no problem with a terrible, like, wretched dystopian society. I'm fine. I mean, we'll survive it regardless. I'm pretty sure the zombies are a worse dystopia than we are. Although they could have a shining civilization, like on the other side of this void, where everyone is equal, and what they're really doing is trying to bring our villagers into the fold of like this nice agrarian society. Unfortunately, we're going to have none of it. There has to be a rigid, hierarchical system, you stupid skeletons. We can't allow what? People to voice their opinions. What are you on about? No such thing is going to happen. Under this rule, we are, I guess, a tyranny. I'm fine with it. I mean, we've been colonizers in the past. We've been imperialists. This isn't too far from the previous situations. I'm sure they'll be fine. I mean, Balls Ford. What a name, Balls Ford. He's perfectly fine with the situation, I can assure you. Because, of course, if he were to not be fine with the situation, the Gestapo would, in fact, find him and have a small chat with him. And a chat with his kneecaps, which would then be relocated out of his body into glass jars. Yeah, it's not the best. It's not the best. But you really shouldn't turn on the Gestapo at any point. That would not be great. Oh, it's dusk of day 6. That's okay. Oh my word, our food stores are down to 16 individual carrots. That is a fairly concerning metric. We're gonna have to go get some of these carrots, probably. Because we're not gonna get really big, good, crop yields until autumn. At autumn time, I mean, we're gonna have all the crops we could possibly ask for, but until then, there may be a bit of starvation. I guess we'll just have to feed the, like, craft workers first, and then the disgusting, dirty building peasants are going to be fed last, because they're, of course, the least necessary to society overall. I mean, when a society is faced with massive risk, they have to decide who is necessary and who isn't. And in this case, I have decided that the builders are not terribly necessary. I'm sorry, Keith Amari. Oh, wait, you're fine. Keith Amari is fine because I believe his wife is the first member of the Gestapo, and thereby he is basically immune to any sort of governmental actions because, you know, we can't be prosecuting the Gestapo. That sends the completely wrong message to everyone else in the village. That in some way the Gestapo follow the same laws as everyone else does. Ha! Oh, that's hilarious. No, they are way above the law. It's how we roll around here. Man, oh, and look! A new member of the Gestapo! Okay, officially, the entire Amari family is part of the Gestapo. Any of them who happen to be builders, they're not disgusting, dirty peasants because they're actually undercover builders. They are nobles of great birth. That's how things work here. Oh no. Everyone's running away now because there's a bunch of monsters around the defenses. Guys, it's okay. There's a bunch of golems. They'll cover you. Just build the walls. Once the walls are done, you won't actually have to go back up there. Until we build the bow towers. Okay, you'll have to basically immediately go back up there. But you're all filthy peasants. It's fine. Except for Joseph Moreland, who is of, royal blood. I mean, it's not great royal blood, as Morlandia is not well known in general civilization, but, you know, it's not the worst blood you could possibly have. He's not a purebred builder, which would, ugh. Can't even imagine being a disgusting purebred builder. That would be terrible. Just completely peasant blood coursing through your veins. Terrifying. Terrifying. Hey, builders, are you gonna finish up the walls? Yeah, okay. We got the last few people moving stones up to the defensive line, and we'll have this nice little choke point for all of the enemies to come through. At the end of that, we'll be able to put this thing called a sling tower, which shoots giant rocks down like a single line and does damage to everything it hits. That's gonna be amazing, because that's like super great. But if we combine it with like a few bullet towers that just shoot tons of small projectiles, we can do a lot of crowd control real quick. The one issue is we do need a forward defensive post, because like taking on all of the enemies once they reach this position is really not good enough most of the time. We need to build like multiple stages where they have to walk by some turrets over here maybe. So we're gonna have to push this fence farther up towards this line. I mean, on the plus side, that'll give us a lot more room to expand, which we probably need because, I don't know if you've looked at it, but we're kind of filling up our space quite well as is. So we're probably gonna need to push up here. It's not gonna be easy, and it's going to have to be done during the daytime. But I'm sure as a civilization, we shall succeed at this, and we shall, of course, create the biggest town one has ever seen. Unless you've seen something like, I don't know, New York. I mean, I guess New York is a city, so we can still remain the biggest town, but basically, if you've seen any town outside of this one, you won't believe that we're the biggest town. But if you omit every other existing town, we will in fact be the largest place in the world. It'll be great. Oh my word. Well, hello. Your kind isn't wanted here. I would request that you leave immediately before our bouncers, otherwise known as golems, absolutely wreck your faces. These guys are like the weakest enemies in the game. So although this looks pretty intimidating, they're gonna be dealt with fairly easily. These guys only become a problem when they manage to group up with like other enemies that are actually powerful, at which point they basically mob the defensive line, and it's the worst thing ever. But I mean, those golems, Bills will easily deal with all those fools. Oh, nice. Day 7 has arrived. It is dawn of day 7, and we are still running out of food. We'll have to head out there. But anyway, for now, that will bring us to the end of this episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe. Next time, we shall continue to build up the defensive line, and then probably get ourselves a Waymaker's building so we can start building some roads and stuff. But until then, thanks for watching, and of course, enjoy the rest of your day.